if I remove the supports, will the house collapse? So there are two acro props there on the right hand side of the screen, which were put in the one side, taken down the partition wall, which was the oak beams and the cob. And they've been in place now for several weeks. And then recently I put in the central support, the beam that's right in the center of the screen, which is directly underneath the burnt part of the large main beam that supports all the ceiling floor joists above it. And now it was time to test the theory, whether it would all hold or not. So it was time to take out the frame, which is an old door that led into from the main living area into what was the guy's bedroom. And it's got an oak frame around it, and then you've got an oak post and an oak beam that's created sort of a lintel area directly above it. So it was a question of removing all of that, then so I can get at the post that's on the left hand side, chop that away as well, take out the horizontal, the little one there, the little lintel, and then it would be a question of removing Mr. Happy Hanger, who's sitting on the acro prop, and then undoing the two acros and seeing where we're at and see if the house collapses down around me. What do you think? Is that likely to happen? Am I still here to tell the tale? So I was fairly confident that if I'd removed practically everything that was directly beneath that large beam, then it wouldn't move at all. It's tied into the A-frame above it, which has been added onto over the years. And also it's got, it's got the ceiling joists sitting directly above it. There's another large beam in the living area itself, which is slightly lower than this one, and that takes a section of the weight of the ceiling as well, or the upstairs, a loft floor. So the frame came away relatively easily, and then, like all these things, because the posts and the uprights and the lintels are all put in oak, and they've been tenon and mortised, so they've slot into a rectangular hole to hold it all in place, and then they use oak dowels, which are like thick wooden pins that they tap in, and that then holds it all in place. There's still a section of support either end of this beam. One the left hand side right by the front of the house. There's one or two beams there, and there's a diagonal beam as well that's supporting it. And then on the right hand side, which is directly underneath the stairwell, you've got three posts and a horizontal beam as well. So I'm not a structural engineer, so it's really just a question of working out what is likely to be the outcome, whether it's going to work or not, and obviously using a certain amount of common sense and working within the construction industry for longer than I care to remember, knowing that you need to never take any undue risks when you're working in construction. So in France, you don't have like building control and stuff. Basically, what happens is you decide you want to do something. If it's over a certain size, you're obliged to utilize an architect to draw up the plans and everything else. If it's below a certain size, I think something like below 100 square meters, you can kind of do all that yourself and send the documentation in. And then they'll look at it, and they may ask for additional information before it's approved or disapproved. And if it's approved, then that's almost like the last you'll ever hear from them, other than the fact that they'll want to know when the work's finished, not because they want to particularly inspect the work, but because they want to then charge you, because obviously if you've got a larger living area than you had before, then you have to pay the tax on it, tax foncière, or tax d'habitation. So they're more interested in that than actually seeing what's gone on with the works. And also, I think they take the view that if you're stupid enough to do something that's going to, cause a risk of injury, then that's sort of down to you. So, whereas in the UK, everything's highly regulated, which is it's a good thing to a degree. But every step that you take in building a house or renovation, the building control will pop around and he will inspect what you've done thus far and sign it off so that you continue on to the next stage. That just doesn't happen in France. There's no such thing. You just you're sort of left to your own devices. And if it was over a certain size and you were utilising and using an architect, then maybe they would do the building control side of it, and they would just check that everything's going as they would anticipate it going. But other than that, you're on your own. So when I built the house in Normandy, like I said, once we had permission to do it, we applied for permission in 2012, I believe, the end of 2012, and it was agreed within matter. Well, I thought it was going to take like 6 months, and it took about 2 weeks. We actually got the agreement just before Christmas 2012 that we could start the works. And when you're given permission, normally you have to start the works within 2 years, or you redo the process over again. So I went over there in 2013 and started digging out the foundations and stuff like that. I never saw a sight and a soul, no, of any official throughout the entire building of the house in Normandy. It was just like you get on and you do it, and you do it. You need to be doing it to a degree of satisfaction that's going to be safe and it's going to work. And obviously, everything that you do, you're basically signing off the works yourself every step of the way. And if you're happy with it, you'll continue on, and if you're not, you'll change it and you'll revamp it to suit. But you won't see anybody turn up, an official from France turning up to inspect what you're up to, other than the fosse septique, which is like the septic tank, where you will have somebody from Spank, which will come along, and one, they'll do a survey to see if it's the area suitable to have a fosse septique. Then they'll instruct you on what the best type of fosse septique is like to be, and then at the end they'll come and inspect that and see that everything's gone as it should have done. So, but as far as building control is concerned, so I did the foundations in Normandy, poured the foundations, did all the block work, created the floors, created the ceilings, created the decking area, created the roof, did the electrics. The thing with the electrics was they will actually, because it was a new supply, you get a temporary supply when you start, and that'll run for about 6 months normally. You can ask to prolong that if you need it, but ordinarily it's about 6 months. And then once the electrics are done, they get someone coming from the concierge who comes, and he does a full inspection of all the electrics. If it's safe, he'll give you a certificate, and then you give that certificate to whoever your supplier of energy is, and then they will connect you on a permanent basis. And that's basically what happened for me in Normandy. So he came along, he did the inspection, he tested the earth and everything else like that, and it was all passed. So that was good. So they're about the only people you'll ever like to see if you're doing renovation or new build in France. So here, I've had to calculate the amount of stress that this beam has taken over the years. Has there been any movement in it at all since I took all the uprights away, or the majority of the uprights I took away, because I like the idea of having a more open plan area downstairs. And I looked at every week. I had a quick look along the top of the join, see if it looked like there'd been any movement at all. Obviously, there's two acro props in place, but even so, there's a possibility that you would have had a tiny bit of movement if that was like to be the case. And over the weeks and weeks, there'd been from what I could see, there'd been no movement at all. So I was fairly happy that putting the central beam in was more an aesthetic thing, and also gives a little bit of confidence to people that come to the house. that there is a central support. Um, there've been various stories about this, where the French artisan who works in and around the area, he was like, let's take the beam out entirely and replace it. I know someone that's got massive oak beams like that, and I didn't want to be going down that route. There is, but some obviously there's some superficial damage to the beam where the fire took hold back in the day, but it's still an enormous piece of oak, and it's still very solid. So putting the central support where the fire had been, and not replacing the beam and not adding to it. I mean, it could be braced, I suppose, if it seemed like it was necessary, but even that, I don't think that's even necessary to do. So I'm still merrily cracking on, trying to get the door frame out of the way, and it's a fair old door frame, isn't it? It's not like a standard door frame. It's an enormous chunk of oak that they've used, which is good, because I'll be able to reuse that somewhere else in the building. And here I am, taking my trusty sledgehammer to it, just to try and free it a wee bit. I've obviously cut through the tenon, so the tenon's free, and it's still attached to the lintel top and bump. There it goes. So that's gone. And that just then leaves the horizontal being the small horizontal lintel that's sitting above, and that can come out as well. And that's got a bit of post attached to it as well, and that's independent of. So obviously the main beam goes in, and then they built a frame underneath it, um, for the door. And the door's quite nice as well. The door I'm going to keep. I'm going to utilise somewhere else as well. That's quite a nice old French door. The top part of it was glazed, and the bottom part is panelled, so that's quite nice. So I can retain all of that. Um, do it in a sort of synthetic colour, and it's just a question now just removing this final couple of bits of timber, which again will be reused somewhere in the house, uh, possibly around the stairwell, which I still need to put in another newel post just so I can put a handrail in place. The former mayor Roger, he who comes on a regular basis, and he went up the stairs and he was impressed, but he would like he'd like a handrail, and I think he's right in demanding that. Um, for me, it's no problem going up and down stairs without rails, but obviously people of a certain age and children and that, it's much safer if you've got a rail in place. So he sort of gingerly worked his way up to the top, and he was impressed with what he saw. The size of space. He'd never seen the loft before, so he was quite impressed with the size of that. And he was impressed with my staircase, my mongrel staircase. So that's always a good sign, isn't it? This guy has done so much work in and around this town and around the areas for decades. You know, he knows sort of everybody in and around this area as well. So if he's impressed, you know you've done something right, and it's nice. And he likes that. He really likes the fact that I'm trying to show off the oak beams and stuff, that I'm not looking to cover them over. So he's really thrilled, because he's a big fan of sort of colombage as well, which is what they call this type of, where you see the beams and you've got the cob or whatever torchie in between. So he's a big fan of that as well. So it's a question of always, when you're working, try and do something that's going to be sympathetic to the building and not change entirely the character of the thing. So there you can see there's a dowel left in place, which I'm going to tap out, and that will be another dowel to add to my collection. I can utilise that either on the central beam that I've put in, or on another beam. So it's just a question of, obviously you tap it from the thinner end, and voila, it came out nice and whole. And then that's the piece of the tenon, which will be used in some way, maybe just for burning or whatever. So I've got two or three of the dowels now free that I can reuse, because the central beam there has got 3 screws in it, which are going to be taken off fairly shortly, and then I'll drill it and then I'll put a dowel in, and that'll look more authentic than the existing. And now we've got The two acro props on the right hand side. There you go, just adjust the camera a wee bit. And you've got Happy Hanger, which is sitting on one of the acro props. I'll call him Happy Hanger because he kind of looks like he's got a smiley face to him. It's like a very 1960s or 1970s plastic hanger. It's really, really quite unique. And it's my favourite hanger, of which I've got several hundred actually in and around. It's currently in the barn, all bagged up. Right, so undoing these French acros, slightly different from the UK ones. Similar sort of system. You've got the holes and the pins, and you can adjust it. Put the pin in, and then you can tighten up using the two little handles there to whatever pressure you need it to be. So it's me just a question of trying to remember which way is taking off the handle and which way tightens it. It's been a while, it's been a few weeks. So there you go, there you can see now that's the first one. It's loosened, so you can undo the handle bit a little bit on the thread, and then lift it up slightly and take the pin out. The pin's sort of permanently attached to the acro prop. And then you can lower that bar, and it goes up. They come in different sizes, various sizes, from quite small, a metre or so, up to about 3 meters, 3.5 meters, which is about 10, 12 feet. So put that to one side, and then here we are. This is the final one. This is going to be the one where the house is going to collapse around my ears, or I'm going to be entirely safe. And this was done on the Saturday evening, just before I left for Paris. So if it was going to collapse, I wouldn't be in it while it collapsed. And when I come back on the Tuesday, hopefully the house will still be standing. Right, so same thing again with this prop. So you're going to undo it slightly, so you can see now it's free. There's no undue movement. There's no sudden cracking or anything that's occurred. Loosen the thread, and then take the pin out, and then drop that acro prop as well. And there you go. So we've got, after something like 5 or 6 weeks, the acro props are put in place. The acro props are put in place just to not freak anybody out that saw the videos initially, that didn't seem to be any sort of support there. And there you go. That's the main beam. It hasn't budged a millimetre. You've got my nice central support there that just adds a nice aesthetic feel to the room. But I know it's all lovely and open between the two rooms. And then we'll just take a quick look around the room itself, how it looks from a sort of a wide angle. So here we are, just moving around the room slightly. Much better. It's much better like that. That central beam actually was a horizontal at one stage, which is why you've got all the mortises sitting in it. And here you are on the left hand side, you've still got a beam, and you've got a diagonal as well support. Then you've got, so we'll have a quick look. We'll just work our way along this main beam and just see there's no visible movement at all. It hasn't budged in the slightest. I mean, it's obviously tied into the A-frame above it as well, and it's held at the front of the property and towards the kitchen area. So you've got uprights there as well, and another diagonal, and you've got 3 beams on the right hand side. So I'm fairly confident with all of that's a job's a good one, and we can move on to other things. I live to see another day, which is always nice. There you go, a bit of a tip downstairs. We're cleared up at some stage. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thanks ever so much for watching. Any comments you want to put, I always like reading the comments and responding to them. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks.